A very warm welcome. We have a packed programme as usual, so let's get cracking. And for some of you may be very excited about the fact that it's Tech Tuesday today, the start of a busy week of results in the sector. We've got Twitter and Snap kicking off proceedings. So what are we likely to see? Well, let's talk about Twitter to begin with. It has, as of last year, its latest numbers, 126 million daily active users. Investors will be keeping an eye on this number. They want it, of course, to go up. The microblogging site upped its security at the beginning of the year and added new features aimed at decreasing the amount of users that are being trolled on the platform. And those changes may have an impact on user engagement going forward. So let's now talk about Snap, Snapchat's parent company. It'll give its numbers as well today after the bell. So it currently has 186 million daily active users. And while it's proving popular with young people, it's got real difficulty apparently in drawing in an older demographic. The app has faced a number of setbacks as well. And Android redesign is taking longer than it was supposed to. And also features like stories that have become the mainstays on rival platforms such as Instagram are proving pretty hard to compete with. Ben, back to you.
Thanks, Sal. Well, Adam Chugg is with me. He's from the media agency, the7stars. Adam, nice to see you. Welcome to the programme. So clearly today, two big ones that everyone is watching. Let's start first of all with Twitter, because as Sally's outlined some of the problems there, they've got a lot on their plate right now to get right. And history tells us they're quite slow at changing things at Twitter.
Yes, and I think that's probably been one of their strengths as well, because they've really carved out a niche for themselves as a news platform and a conversation platform, and I think that's led to some of their stable user numbers, really. They are seeing a slowdown in user number growth there. They've seen a reduction in monthly average users because they've culled a lot of bot traffic, or so they say, but the good thing is their daily active users are still increasing slightly.
And when we look at Twitter, clearly never far from the headlines, given all we've heard about the spread of fake news and whether they are harvesting too much data, all that sort of thing. Particularly in Twitter's case, it's that idea of, unverifiable content. How much is that figuring on these numbers?
I think in terms of the monthly active users, that bot traffic in particular, that's where you're seeing the decrease. I don't think it's causing us the slowdown in daily active user growth. I think potentially long term that could have more of a damaging effect. Obviously, the quality of the content on these platforms is key. And I think they need to address that issue long term, and they're clearly making moves to do that.
Yeah, and addressing the quality issue is what brings the money in, doesn't it? I mean, let's not forget, this is where Twitter will make its money, from the advertising that is on the platform. I mean, and they've got to get that right.
Absolutely. I think actually they might have even benefited from Facebook stealing a lot of the limelight, especially in the last quarter when it comes to brand safety issues. And with less of that limelight on Twitter, some advertisers might have thought about redistributing their money into social media platforms where the scrutiny perhaps isn't as great at the moment.
And if ever there was an example of, a tough market to be in, it is that rivalry, isn't it, between Snap and then all the other players? Because as Sally touched on, Facebook, Instagram, pinching that idea perhaps of stories, being able to live update as you go along. How is that figuring for Snap? Because they've got to stay ahead of the curve here.
Snapchat have got big problems in that space. I think we're seeing a decline in user numbers. I think we peaked at 191 million users in Q1 at last year. So we see how that's decreased already to 186 million. One of Snapchat's greatest strengths is probably one of its biggest weaknesses, in that it's very popular with that younger demographic, but they're also very fickle, as well as Instagram stealing user share because it's adopting a lot of the same features as Snapchat. You've got the likes of TikTok now as well, which was the most widely downloaded app in the US last year. Already reached 250 million active daily users. So Snap have really got to make significant changes there.
It is astonishing, isn't it, where these apps come from nowhere and then suddenly are so mainstream. Adam, it's good to talk to you. Thanks for your insight into all of that. Adam Chugg there from the 7stars.